Good evening, I am Jarvis Barney with your VON Major News Package for today, Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. In our lead stories nationally, PAM's 55th anniversary, PAM's leader highlights achievements of the party and states political stance on impending elections, and inclement weather stalls work on Charlestown Pier, 50% complete, says NASPA's general manager. Regionally, BVI's premier says delinquent fathers to be barred from traveling under upcoming child support legislation. Internationally, Ousted Grammy Awards boss Deborah Dugan makes corruption claims. And in sports, Windies to tour Sri Lanka from February 22nd to March 6th, 2020. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now on to the national news in detail. Deputy Prime Minister and political leader of the People's Action Movement, PAM, the Honourable Sean Richards, has highlighted a few of the party's achievements in the midst of its 55th anniversary celebrations. PAM was founded on January 19, 1965 by Mr. William Valentine Herbert. Here's Mr. Richards as he spoke with the VON Newsline.
PAM as a political organization celebrating 55 years is quite proud of its achievement to date. In 1983, for example, the People's Action Movement in government would have delivered us into independence under the then Prime Minister and First Prime Minister, so Dr. Kennedy Alphonse Simmons. The party also would have taken the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis to the pinnacle of economic success in the Latin America and Caribbean region. I can go on to add that developments such as Port Zante, the Southeast Peninsula, would have come under the People's Action Movement.
As elections here in St. Kitts and Nevis are imminent, the political leader said that he is confident his party will prevail with even more seats.
PAM, as part of the Team Unity administration, has been performing. I am therefore of the view that the four PAM representatives would be returned as part of a Team Unity administration in the upcoming general election. I am also very confident that our candidate in constituency number 2, Jonel Powell, will be part of the next government. He is doing the work there, and I do believe that the people generally have seen the work of this administration and will put him to work as their representative in the parliament. It is very safe to say that we are looking to increase the number of seats.
Deputy Prime Minister and political leader of the People's Action Movement, PAM, the Honourable Sean Richards. The current representatives of constituencies number 1, 4, 5 and 8 are namely the Honourable Ian Patches Liburd, the Honourable Lindsay Grant, the Honourable Sean Richards and the Honourable Eugene Hamilton. The reconstruction work being done on the small pier at the Charlestown port has been temporarily stalled. This was revealed by General Manager of the Nevis and Seaports Authority, NASPA, Mr. Oral Brandy, in an interview with the VON Newsline today, Wednesday, January 22nd. He explained to us why the work has come to a standstill.
This is due to the sea-swells that we have been experiencing in recent days, especially in and around the work site. This is not the first time that the contractor would have had to pause on the work since he started the project. I believe that everyone is also aware of the high winds and the sea swells, the rip currents that have come our way. And this is not anything new as such for this time of the year. Yes, we anticipated an end of year, 2019, or mid-January completion of the pier, but that did not happen.
Mr. Brandy noted that it was in the best interest of the project and lives to take the necessary precautionary measures despite the project is 50% completed. He also reassured the general public that the project will be completed in short order once the conditions are conducive.
We had to take safety measures rather than risking lives and the loss of equipment, etc. Yes, we anticipated an early completion. NASPA, I'm sure the people of Nevis would certainly like to see this facility completed and in operation. The contractor himself, I can say, is very anxious to have it done. We believe if we can get a week or two of calm seas or good weather, that this will help tremendously in finishing the project. And so I want to reassure the general public that once the conditions are good, we will see much progress on the work site.
Mr. Oral Brandy. In 2019, Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, announced that a contract in the amount of US $325,330 was signed to reconstruct the damaged-paying Charlestown, with work to commence in November of 2019. The pier, which is the smaller of the two piers at the Charleston port, was severely damaged and rendered unusable over 2 years ago. Think, believe, create, achieve. That is the theme for a vision board party to be held at the Ocean Terrace Inn in St. Kitts on Saturday, 25th January 2020. Coordinator of the event and assistant concierge manager at the Park Hyatt Hotel, Miss Shalicia Glassford, spoke on the first episode of the Let's Talk program for 2020 here on Von Radio about the reasons why this type of party is being held and the activities that will be conducted.
The idea came from a friend of mine in Florida. I used to live in Florida for about a year and a half, and I had a friend that read a book and found out about vision boards and shared that idea with me. And then she decided to host her own vision board party in Florida and invited me to be one of the speakers. And while I was at the event, I said to myself, wow, this is definitely something that we can benefit from at home, because I really don't think that we have enough events like these. I think persons are more so interested in doing this in this particular setting. It's going to be music. It's a very hyper atmosphere. It's not just, you know, you come in and then somebody says one or two words. And the people on my team, they're excited, they're pumped, they're here to help you. So they're cutting stuff out of magazines. We have cutouts already, motivational words. And our team is really there to help people complete their vision boards and to make it in such a way that they are proud of it. A part of the event as well is not just creating a vision board, but it's getting up and actually articulating what's on your board to help you to build confidence in the things that you have on this board as well.
During her discussion, Ms. Glassford explained that before its inception, the concept of a vision party received a mixed response by individuals. However, what is the feedback from parties held since the vision board parties began in St. Kitts and Nevis?
I think I can proudly say, based on the response from the previous two events and based on just one-on-one conversations with some of the attendees, they had a blast. I had persons messaging me the day after telling me how inspired they were, how they had a plan for so long in their heads.
Yes.
But then they came to this event, they heard about different stories from persons that would have gone through a few things, because one of the speakers, the third speaker actually, this person talks about the challenge with a vision. So of course I'm not here to say if you have something on a board, it's just going to magically happen just because it's on a board. You have to make a plan to achieve it, but even in making a plan, life happens. So how do you navigate through those challenges? When persons would have come to the event and hear people talk about their challenges, but they made it, they feel that they have a renewed sense of hope and they're able to actually achieve what they want as well.
Coordinator of the Vision Board Party, Ms. Shalicia Glassford. A sitting of the National Assembly will be held at the National Assembly Chambers, Government Headquarters in Basti, St. Kitts, on Thursday, January 23rd. The sitting is slated to commence at 10 a.m. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris will seek leave to introduce and have read a first time the Virtual Assets Bill 2020. Additionally, the Prime Minister will move the second reading of the Virtual Assets Bill 2020, Money Services Business Amendment Bill 2019, which had its first reading on July 30th, 2019, Anti-Money Laundering National Committee Bill 2019, which had its first reading on November 28, 2019, and Non-Governmental Organizations Amendment Bill 2019, which had its first reading on November 28, 2019. Attorney General Senator the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr. will move the second reading of Proceeds of Crime and Asset Recovery Bill 2019, which had its first reading on November 28, 2019. The Nevis Disaster Management Department, NDMD, recently received the final consignment of a multi-million-dollar gift package from the government and people of Japan to assist with disaster preparedness and response capacity here on Nevis. The gift came from Japan's Grant Aid, Economic and Social Development Program and was delivered in 2 tiers. Through this program, Japan aims to support the promotion of the economic and social development of developing countries such as Nevis by utilizing disaster reduction-related products of Japanese enterprises. The first consignment was delivered in February 2019 and included 2 front-end loaders, 3 disaster management mini storage units, rescue equipment, 1 drone, 2 SLR cameras, 1 dump truck and a pallet of spare parts, 1 rescue vehicle with a snorkel, 3 pickup trucks, and a medical vehicle. The second and final tier includes fire suits, 1 set closed-circuit TV, generator sets, tarpaulins, VHF handheld radios and accessories, and VHF vehicle mobile-based radios and accessories. Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, thanked the government and people of Japan for their significant investment in the people of Nevis. And Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris received a courtesy call from former Chancellor of Ecuador and former President of the UN General Assembly, Ms. Maria Fernanda Espinosa, on Monday, January 20th, to further advance her candidacy for the post of Secretary General of the Organization of American States, OAS. The election for the post of Secretary General will be held in March 2020. Ms. Espinosa will compete with the incumbent Luis Almagro for the position of OAS Secretary General. She also used the meeting with Prime Minister Harris to formally present her vision for the 35-member organization as they relate to the strengthening of the 4 main pillars of the OAS, namely democracy, human rights, security, and development. Prime Minister Harris outlined his government's perspective on the 4 pillars of the organization and used the occasion to outline several challenges faced by small island developing states like St. Kitts and Nevis. And that's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
We know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions to make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Go Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our Online internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back, and now on to the regional news. In the British Virgin Islands, government is introducing a piece of legislation that will prevent delinquent fathers from leaving the territory until they pay any and all outstanding child support debt. Premier Andrew Foy said this legislation will be introduced in the British Virgin Islands before June 2020. According to BVInews.com, he stated on Monday, "I do not know why men go and get children and then don't support them. I have an issue with that." He also said locally government systems will be used to monitor all government-related activity done by these individuals. This, Mr. Foy said, will ensure they make all the necessary payments. He explained that the delinquent fathers will not be getting nothing until they pay up that child support and other things. Premier Foy further alluded to the negative impact that can result from the actions of fathers who fail to pull their proverbial weight within the family. He said that in some cases, children end up turning to a life of crime because they did not have a father figure present. The governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands, USVI, repeated his call for marijuana legislation in his annual State of the Territory address. Governor Albert Bryan Jr., who called the legislature into a special session last month to begin taking up cannabis reform legislation, stressed that establishing a commercial marijuana market would bring in needed tax revenue to support a variety of government programs, according to leafymarket.co. The proposed amendment to the territory's existing medical cannabis law, which Bryan signed last year, would allow adults 21 and older to obtain a license from the government in order to purchase and cultivate marijuana. It would also promote participation in the industry by small farmers and local businesses, as well as providing for automatic expungement of prior cannabis convictions. Most importantly, it creates a taxing regime for the local industry that will generate higher revenues than the current law allows, he said in the speech last Monday, noting that tax revenue will be distributed between the Government Employees Retirement System GERS, implementation of regulations and services for senior citizens. Bryan's proposal calls for a 30% tax on marijuana sales, with revenue expected to be upwards of $20 million annually. If approved, that would make USVI the third U.S. territory to legalize cannabis for adult use, after Guam and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Dominica recorded its first road fatality for 2020. According to police reports, 27-year-old Gibson Kimian Esprit lost his life following a road accident on Saturday. The collision occurred at around 9 p.m. in Castle Comfort. Police Public Relations PRO Inspector Simon Edwards said Esprit was riding a scooter, registration number P1543, in a northerly direction on the road when he lost control. DominicaNewsAndLand.com quoted the police PRO as saying the scooter landed forcefully on the road and Esprit sustained injuries about his body, particularly his head. Esprit was reportedly transported by ambulance to the Accident and Emergency Department of the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, where he was examined by a medical doctor and admitted. The following day, which was Sunday, he succumbed to his injuries and was officially pronounced dead. After the Bahamas, government is to carefully review the pledges received at the recent Hurricane Dorian Pledging Conference and decide what is best for the country and for the people and communities in affected areas, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says. At last week's conference, which was co-sponsored by the government of the Bahamas and the United Nations Development Programme UNDP, the Bahamas received US $1.5 billion in pledges of financing, grants, technical assistance, intellectual assistance, humanitarian aid and other forms of aid. Caribbean 360 says the categories of pledge included concessionary loans, equity grants and guarantee financing. Mr. Minnis explained that at the pledging conference, domestic and international corporate entities, etc., pledged various levels and types of support for the massive rebuilding program. Hurricane Dorian hit Abaco and Grand Bahama at the start of September 2019. There are 70 confirmed deaths as a result of the hurricane. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves on Tuesday praised the position taken by his Barbadian counterpart, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, as some regional leaders prepared to meet in Jamaica with United States Secretary of State Michael Pompeo. Mottley said Bridgetown had not agreed to accept the invitation to the talks and warned about efforts to divide CARICOM. However, Mr. Gonsalves, speaking at a news conference, said while the United States had every right to invite whoever it wanted, he had a strong support for Mia Mottley, where she said she couldn't, as chairman of CARICOM, accept an invitation to go where some countries are invited and some are not invited. And that's it for our regional news segment. International news and sports comes up next. Welcome back on to the international news. Voting for the Grammy Awards is ripe with corruption, Recording Academy Chief Deborah Dugan has claimed days after she was suspended from her job. Dugan said she was removed as retaliation for uncovering misconduct at the Academy, which runs the awards. She has detailed allegations of sexual harassment, conflicts of interest, and voting irregularities within the body. The Academy has questioned why she did not raise the grave allegations until she was accused of bullying herself. In a statement, it said she was accused of workplace harassment by a female colleague in December. Dugan has denied the bullying claim. The Academy said it has launched 2 independent investigations into the complaints made by Dugan and those made against her. Dugan also said she was paid substantially less than her 2 male predecessors. This year's Grammys ceremony will see some of the world's biggest pop stars honored in Los Angeles on Sunday, but it risks being overshadowed by the row. UN human rights experts have demanded an immediate investigation into allegations Saudi Arabia's crown prince hacked Amazon boss Jeff Bezos' phone. They said Mohammed bin Salman should also be investigated for continuous, direct and personal efforts to target perceived opponents. A message from a phone number used by the prince has been implicated in a breach of Mr. Bezos' data. The kingdom's U.S. embassy has denied the absurd story, but the independent UN experts Agnes Kalamard, Special Rapporteur on Summary Executions and Extrajudicial Killings, and David Kay, Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression, said the Crown Prince's possible involvement had to be investigated. Relations between Saudi Arabia and Mr. Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post, worsened after Jamal Khashoggi, a prominent critic of the Saudi government and one of the newspaper's staff, was murdered in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in 2018. The U.S. Senate has adopted ground rules for President Donald Trump's impeachment trial after nearly 13 hours of rancorous debate on day 1. Democratic prosecutors clashed with Mr. Trump's lawyers over the process, while Republicans rejected Democratic demands for more witnesses to be called. The trial resumed today with arguments by the prosecution and followed by the defense and questions. Mr. Trump is the 3rd U.S. president to face an impeachment trial. He is charged with abuse of power and obstructing the congressional impeachment inquiry. He has denied wrongdoing and accused Democrats of trying to unseat him for political reasons. Mr. Trump is on trial after he was impeached last month by the Democratic-led House of Representatives, but the Senate, which is controlled by his fellow Republicans, is not expected to convict and remove him from office. And Chinese authorities have urged people to stop traveling in and out of Wuhan, the city at the center of a new virus outbreak that has killed 9 people. Those living in the city of 8.9 million people have also been told to avoid crowds and minimize public gatherings. A WHO spokesman spoke with the BBC and said,
"They will hear from countries that have been affected. They will hear from experts as well, and then really try to see where we need to go next. We still need to understand how this virus is being transmitted exactly. We know that there is a limited human-to-human transmission, but we still have to see how exactly this is being done. We need to understand the source of the virus as well."
And that brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next.
Let TDC Financial Services help you go for your goals. Whether you're thinking of taking that grand vacation, down payment on a house, higher education, TDC Financial Services has various plans that will allow you to go for your goals. Choose from the Accumulator Plus, Investment Starter Plan, and Fixed Deposit. Ready to go for your goals? Visit us at TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Welcome back and now on to the sports. In cricket, West Indies men's team will commence their first away series of 2020 with 3 one-day internationals ODI and 2 2020 internationals in Sri Lanka from February 22nd to March 6th. The one-day matches will be the final bilateral series West Indies will play before the Caribbean side and all the top 13 teams participate in the newly formed International Cricket Council ICC ODI League that runs from May 2020 to March 31st, 2022, Cricket West Indies CWI said in a report. In this new limited overs cycle under the 2019-2023 Future Tours Program FTP, established by the ICC to bring greater context to international cricket fixtures, the 7 highest ranked teams, apart from India, who gained automatic entry as tournament hosts, will qualify for the 2023 World Cup. Following the 3-0 ODI series clean sweeps against Afghanistan and Ireland, the West Indies currently sit in 9th position with 80 points, with Sri Lanka in 8th place on 81 points, CWI said. A series win for West Indies will move them into 8th position ahead of Sri Lanka in the official ICC ODI team rankings. West Indies won their first T20 World Cup title in Australia in 2012. In basketball, the LA Clippers faced the Dallas Mavericks last evening, Tuesday, January 21st, and in the end, the Clippers beat the Mavericks 110 points to 107 points. Meanwhile, Dallas Mavericks center Dwight Powell suffered a non-contact right Achilles injury in the first quarter of the team's loss on Tuesday to the LA Clippers, and the extent is feared to be severe, says coach Rick Carlisle. A torn Achilles would likely end Powell's season. In football, a record $7.35 billion was spent on transfers in men's football during 2019, according to a report by world governing body FIFA. The figure is an increase of more than 5.8% in 2018 when it comes to transfers across the globe. English clubs spent £1.5 billion, which was a 22.1% decrease from 2018, but still the most overall. There was a 16.3% rise in spending in the women's games to $652,032. The United States had the most players at almost 20% of the 833 transfers made in the women's game. There were 18,042 such moves, also a record in the men's game involving 15,463 players of 178 different nationalities. In local sports, on Sunday, January 19th, a ceremony was held at the conference room of the Owali Beach Hotel to launch the Swim to Win initiative. Chairing the program was Director of Sports Miss Jamia Claxton, who warmly welcomed swim coach Miss Anne Micklendon. She stated that the goal is to get persons to overcome their fear of the water, move into basic aquatic skills, and then move to a competitive level. In tennis, Serena Williams continued her unbeaten start to the year as she powered past Slovenian Tamara Zinchenko to reach the third round. The 38-year-old American, bidding for a record-equaling 24th Grand Slam title, needed just over an hour to win 6-2, 6-3. Next, she will face China's 27th seed Wang Qiang, who was thrashed by Williams at September's US Open. Meanwhile, American teenager Coco Gauff recovered from a set-down to set up a meeting with defending champion Naomi Osaka in the Australian Open last 32. World number 1 Ashley Barty also reached the third round earlier today, January 22nd. Japanese third seed Osaka beat Sensai Zheng 6-2, 6-4. Gauff beat Romania's Sarana Sostia 4-6, 6-3, 7-5 in 2 hours and 6 minutes. Maria Sharapova is not sure if she will be at the Australian Open next year, with a first-round exit meaning she is set to drop out of the world's top 350. The 5-time Grand Slam champion, who won at Melbourne Park in 2008, lost 6-3, 6-4 to Croatian 19th seed Donna Vekic. And lastly, in our sports segment, still in tennis, in the men's tennis rather, Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic both enjoyed comfortable wins to reach the third round of the Australian Open. Federer beat world number 41 Filip Krajinovic of Serbia 6-1, 6-4, 6-1 to maintain his bid to match Djokovic's 7 Australian Open titles. Djokovic, the defending champion, dismissed Japanese wildcard Tatsuma Ito 6-1, 6-4, 6-2 in 95 minutes. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back. Tonight's weather, partly cloudy to sometimes cloudy with a 20% or moderate chance of brief evening showers. The weather tomorrow, partly cloudy to cloudy with a 40% chance of brief late afternoon showers. The winds east-southeast at 6 to 14 knots, becoming southerly tomorrow. The seas are 1 to 1.5 meters, and the sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:44 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, PAM's 55th anniversary, PAM's leader highlights achievements of the party and state's political stance on impending elections, and inclement weather stalls work on Charlestown Pier, 50% complete, says NASPA's general manager. Regionally, BVI's premier says delinquent fathers to be barred from traveling on the upcoming child support legislation. Internationally, ousted Grammy Awards boss Deborah Dugan makes corruption claims. And in sports, Windies to tour Sri Lanka from February 22nd to March 6th. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Brown wishing you a pleasant evening.